Welcome to The Change, a podcast about the changes in life that can shake, break, and make us. I'm Laura, a 44-year-old writer, podcaster, and mum who has until recently always loved change.
And I'm Kathy, 52-year-old writer, podcaster, and mum. And change is actually my kryptonite. We acknowledge the traditional owners of country throughout Australia on which this podcast is recorded and recognise the continuing connections to lands, waters and communities.
We pay our respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures and elders past and present.
Hey Laura, how you going?
Hey Kathy, I'm very well. How are you going?
I'm really good. Oh my goodness, have we got the most incredible guest lined up this week?
I'm very excited. She's a wonder. She's a clever woman, and she's a young woman. Do tell us,
She is.
Kathy, who are we having today?
We are going to talk to the incredible Jessie Stephens. She is the author of 2 best-selling books, Something Bad is Going to Happen, released in 2023, and Heartsick, released in 2021. Jessie is an executive editor at Mamamia, Australia's largest independent women's media company. That's where we met her when we were working there.
It is.
And she co-hosts their flagship podcast, Mamamia Out Loud, with Mia and Holly regularly. And then she also hosts Cancelled with her twin sister, Claire. Jessie is a regular on Channel 10's The Project, ABC Weekend Breakfast, ABC Radio. She's also a scriptwriter. And last year, she became a mum to baby Luna.
Hi, Jessie. Thank you so much for joining us on The Change.
Thank you for having me. I've missed you too.
Oh, we love seeing
we've
you.
missed you.
We'll kick off by talking about your career, I think, to start, because professionally you've been through so many changes the last few years, from writer, podcaster, editor, TV panelist, author. I mean, the list goes on. What has been your kind of favorite career pivot or career change to date?
I enjoy change. Anything that feels too monotonous and doing the same thing day in and day out, I begin to find that boring. So I don't think that's a coincidence that there's been so much change. So I love all of them. I love stretching myself and finding myself in situations where I feel not completely out of my depth, but like 15% out of my depth, where I have to stretch and work different parts of my brain. And I love that. But I must say that nothing has challenged me like writing a book. And so that and there is I don't think it's a satisfaction, I suppose, from knowing that you began a project that is that big with that many words, that any book is such an ambitious project to commence. And then to finish it, and the solitude of that, because so much of what I've done has been as part of a team or with my twin sister, to do something on my own has been so challenging. But because of that, I think that's been my favorite pivot, because I can feel myself in real time get better at something. I'm so bad at the beginning, and by the end, I've just learned so much about how to write a book.
And do you think like having the book writing on this at the same time as your podcasting, getting your kind of short-term creative fix is part of what makes it so great as well, having the dual career running simultaneously?
Yeah, I definitely do. Because I think I've probably struggled a little bit with the speed of digital and the writing and the what can feel sometimes like a bit of a churn and a treadmill you're on, where you don't get to sit with any idea for longer than a few hours. So to feel creatively fulfilled, to have no one hold you back in the way of like an editor saying, well, that story is not going to work today, or we can only give you so much time. It feels very empowering to just go, what happens if me on my own, sit down and I do this, and then the research that I do and the skills that I definitely feel like I've developed help with all areas. I, I think, and that, yeah, because then you become when you write every day, you inevitably feel like you get better and better at it, and it helps with being more articulate or thinking about ideas more deeply. So it all definitely informs one another, which is good.
I'd love to
Yeah.
write a book one day, and you're totally an inspiration to be able to do it.
You must. I want to be one of the first people to read it.
We'll
Maybe.
both have to write our own books, and we'll get you to beta test it for us.
Yes,
Isn't that what they
yes,
say?
please.
Or beta read it or whatever. Yeah.
I love to read. I love to read more than I love to write. So
Oh,
I'm
perfect.
very keen.
We'll have to get pointers from you on how to do it. I mean, and please tell me more than just you just have to sit down and write, because I
I
need
mean,
more
that
than
is a
that.
thing, but yeah.
Well, I think that knowing that you don't have to write a book, like if I said you have to write 300 words a day,
Mm,
Mhm.
nothing. Like it's
mm,
the thing that
Mm.
scares anyone is
Mm.
the prospect of anything that big. And that's
mm,
why anyone can do it, because in the time that you were both at Mamamia, you wrote 80,000 words. Like you wrote enough to write a book,
Mm.
mm,
but it was just that they were in little snippets. So I think
mm,
anything of that magnitude, it's a lot of tiny tasks broken down that
mm.
you can't get overwhelmed by the idea.
Yeah.
A little bit like eating the elephant, isn't that what they say? One bite at a time, sort of
Yeah.
thing. Yeah. We've also heard about one of your biggest changes in the last 12 months, and that is becoming a mum. Congratulations.
Yes.
Thank you.
And also recently becoming an auntie. So, first off, tell us how motherhood has changed you, and then what's auntie life like?
It's changed is really interesting. The concept's really interesting because I was terrified during pregnancy that I would
Mm,
totally lose my identity. I wouldn't know who I was. I wouldn't be able to do all the things I loved before. My brain wouldn't work in the same way. Like I just had these fears that
mm,
some sometimes I think they're perpetuated by people on the other side. My algorithm got very much like your life is about to be ruined. That is not how I've
I think I wrote that story. I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
And it's not ruined, it's just
No,
different,
It's
right?
yeah,
different,
it
it's
is.
different, and the respect I have for working mothers being on the other side, you can't know until you're in it.
Mm,
But
Mhm.
the bigness of all the emotions is fantastic, and, like, your brain does work, and
mm,
there are features of you that are the same person and want the same things, and you can still be ambitious and still have, you know, career things that you want to achieve in your career, and that's been a relief. But there's definitely been a realignment of values for me,
mm,
Mm.
and I've become better at boundaries because I can say no on behalf of Luna. So that's been
mm.
a really good thing that I love. I'm also, and I don't know, this is probably still a little bit hormonal, but I'm much happier. And I think it might be something to do with the hormones. I don't think I'm back at baseline yet.
Mhm, mhm,
Um, but being an auntie is just a whole other joy. Like, because I look at Matilda and I don't feel any anxiety or fear,
mhm,
um, I just feel pure love. The fun I can have with her is
mm,
just like before I was just making her laugh, and she's like 6 weeks, and she's got these massive, massive smiles, and
Oh,
on the border of laughing, and um, I watching their relationship blossom and stuff. It has been the greatest joy of my life, and this season has been much more fun and mindful than I ever could have imagined. And I'm just kind of counting because I hated being pregnant. So I think that
mhm,
this little window, I think I'm just happy I'm not pregnant.
mhm.
it's very
Yeah,
relatable. Yeah, and
very.
yeah, I think that's wonderful that you've, come out and felt that way. It's very, very cool. I was so interested because I was when we were researching, talking to you, and I went back through and had this memory of your chat with Virginia Tapscott, and you had a bit of an argument with Mia on No Filter about
Mhm, mhm,
motherhood and being a stay-at-home mom, and I kind of wondered if, since having Luna, whether or not your opinion had changed. And I believe it was when Mia said that being a stay-at-home mum was kind of intellectually, or it was boring, and Virginia
Mm.
said it was stimulating, and you were kind of coming down on the side with Virginia. And yeah, I just wondered if you kind of could relate more to Mia, or were firmly still in Virginia's camp.
Firmly in Virginia's camp.
Yeah,
My baby, so Luna is currently just over 7 months old, so I'm also aware that if I had 3 kids, 4 kids, and I was doing this again, and I'd been doing this for 10 years, I might feel very, very differently.
sure.
But the moment I'm in, I've looked at it and gone, the fun,
Mhm.
it's really hard, and I don't think that anyone is in denial about that. But I can just see how fabulous it would be to be a stay-at-home mum. I think it would be a fabulous, fun, stimulating, rewarding, challenging thing to do. And there's definitely been moments where I've been like, "Oh my god, I could do this for years." Like, I love it, and
Mm.
it is into the way your brain has to work. It is so much harder, and in some ways even more interesting than what you do at work sometimes, because I don't understand solids or like
No one does. It's
play or
okay.
no, it
No
doesn't
one
make,
does.
it's so hard. And like watching this brain, it feels like you're getting a degree in psychology and child development and pediatrics. Like
Mhm.
it, you learn, you're on this steep learning curve. So I haven't I haven't found it boring. That would not be the word I'd use. And I went back to work when she was about 4 or 5 months, but to sort of 3-ish days. But a lot of people in my mother's group took a year, and I look at them and feel some envy, and they look at me and feel some envy. And yeah, I reckon I could totally. I have a lot of respect and admiration, but also a bit of envy for people who stay at home with their kids. I think you'd have a lot of fun.
Mm. Well, that's cool. Yeah, that you haven't
Very yes.
changed. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I'm a little envious because I certainly didn't find it fun, but that's okay. We
I
are
think
all
phases,
different.
different
Yeah,
phases. Yeah.
absolutely.
I'm
Yeah.
glad you said that too, because that's exactly it. Some people find having a 2-year-old or finding having a
Mm.
4-year-old, or like I was listening to an author the other day who was saying her kids are I think she has 3 teenagers, and she said, "This is the period I've been waiting my whole life for. Like, I
Oh,
love it." And she
yeah.
said
Mm.
that she loves teenagers because she remembers being a teenager and she
Mm.
really
Mm.
identifies with that. Whereas she went, "I didn't." And I think it's exactly it. People enjoy
Mm.
Mm.
some bits more. There are people who loved pregnancy, and I'm like, "Oh, I
Oh,
cannot tell you how much I hate it." Like,
yeah.
it's very kind of, yeah, I think you've gotta count your blessings when you've got them, and then
Mm.
it's like, I am sure that I will have some 2-year-old that screams for 18 months and be like, "Alright."
Hopefully not.
Let's hope
Hopefully
not.
not. I would not wish that on anybody. I think
Yeah.
it's but I do think it is as Laura says, it's phases, right? Like we all have those different phases. I remember when my eldest was a baby, I was at uni, like I was finishing off my teaching degree,
Oh,
and like that wasn't the worst, like and he was a brilliant baby. So I was able to kind of study and do all of that. But then I was just trying to think, what was it like with my twins? But I had a toddler and I had twins
Mm.
who didn't sleep. So it was like, oh, like that was
I
just
was
too
yeah.
much.
I read
Mm.
something recently about the rates of postpartum depression with twins in men and women, and
Mm,
it is through the roof. There is
Mm.
I look at this, and my mum, who had 2 sets of twins, is
Mm.
only experiencing
mm.
having, she comes over and looks at Luna, and she can't believe that there's one baby who you can, like, has a schedule and you can settle her and all that.
Mm,
Yeah.
And I
Gosh.
think it so much depends on the baby you've got, and it is luck of the draw. And yeah, when I was in hospital and the cluster feeding and everything, and Luna was relaxed and she wasn't that baby that needed to be on me, the baby next door, who was 24 hours old, did want to be on that
Mm.
mum the whole
mm,
time. And that's going to affect
mm.
your independence and what you can and can't do. And that's the thing too, is that then you get you go, "Oh, I can't wait to have another one. I can't wait to have another one." and then you only have 2 because the second one is a demon.
But I think it's
Yeah.
really like we're 3 women, just 3 women, and we've all had different experiences of,
Mm.
of parenting babies and toddler, and I think it just shows that there's no right answer, right? Everyone just copes
Yeah.
and has experiences on their own and the kids are little humans and they've got their own personalities and that's
Mhm.
why I think it is frustrating when you get told you should be maternal, like it's a
Mm.
full female thing, like we all should
Yeah.
feel the same because of course we don't, because we're all humans and we're all different.
And
Yeah,
I
I
Yeah.
felt
think
like that about breastfeeding, actually. I felt
Mm,
like I should love it. Like, I
mm,
should love every minute, and it should be this incredible bonding experience, and it had its moments, but I didn't love breastfeeding, and I
mm,
mm,
stopped breastfeeding, just before she was 6 months old.
mm,
There's definitely an element of, like, "Oh, she keeps look at her, she's still doing it, and her baby's 10 months old or 12, like, should I have kept?" But I just went, "I'm gonna be honest with myself, like,
mm.
there are
mm,
things that are great
Smart.
about this, and I don't love this, it's too hard."
mm.
And
Mm,
that
Yeah.
was the right decision for us.
mm.
Yeah.
That's good.
And I think that's what you have to do, right?
Mm,
Like, and it's really when people make those sweeping generalizations, like you should love this or you should do that, or all women should stay at home or all women should go
Yep,
back to work,
mm.
or those really polarizing statements like if you don't love it, then there's an
There's
issue
something
with
wrong
you
with
or
you.
something.
Mm,
yeah,
Yeah, those sweeping statements are where the issues are. Whereas we're all individuals, our children are all individuals, and
mm,
we spoke to a beautiful friend of mine who about parenting older children, and Bron said to us, and it sticks in my head, that she wishes she'd learnt to parent the child she had rather than parenting the child she wished she had
mm,
sooner. And
wow,
it's just,
yeah,
mm,
and that really sticks in my head. It's like, that's what we have to do, right? We have to
mm,
deal the cards we've been dealt,
yeah,
not wish we were dealt something else. I mean, we all wish we're dealt something else, of course, but we have to deal with what's in front of us, not wish I was working or wish I was a stay-at-home mum, or, we make the choices that are the best choices for us.
yeah,
mm,
yeah. And I heard someone say, "Parenting is as hard as you make it," which is true and it's not. Some people have really hard babies, but there are some days where you go, "I'm gonna" I find myself making it hard for myself.
mm.
Mhm,
So
Yeah.
there's an easier choice here. It may
mhm,
Yes.
not
Like
be,
expectations.
yes,
Mm,
exactly right, exactly.
mm,
Like, I'm not gonna be the perfect cook. I've never been the perfect cook, it's not gonna happen. Or I'll be
mhm,
in the nursery with Luna trying to put her down and it's a beautiful day outside. And someone said, "Do not spend your whole day soothing a baby to sleep in a dark nursery when it's sunny outside, like,
mm,
yep,
get out." And I was like, "That is so true," because 'cause I've done it.
mm,
I've been in that room for hours and then gone,
mm,
"No." Like, I'm
mm.
not gonna kind of, yeah, have those hours
Yeah.
just sitting inside, and, no schedule, and there's lots of things I'm sure I'm doing wrong, but I'm just like,
but they're right for you.
That's right.
yeah,
You got yeah, it's the guilt, isn't it? The
yeah,
banishing of the guilt and the expectations and ugh.
yeah,
I
Ugh.
yeah.
guess I'm curious, where does Luna go when you're working? Like, is Luca at home, or
I'm so
mum, or
glad you asked
grandma,
that,
Mia?
because I think that's a really important question to ask.
Mm,
'Cause there's, like,
Sorry, it's really nosy
no,
of
no, no,
me.
I was just thinking it today because I was thinking about, we were talking, about someone on TikTok, and she has all of these kids and blah blah blah. And I thought, no, I think sometimes you've got a bit of a responsibility to have a bit of transparency
mm,
about where the kids are. So we had a nanny who was a family friend, and she came 2 days a week last year, and now we've got Luca's sister who's 18, and she comes on Mondays and Wednesdays and does
Mhm,
um, sort of till 4 with Luna, and then Luca does Fridays with her, and then
mhm,
I'm at home with her on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
oh,
And then if I
mm,
am doing Melbourne, doing a project or something, then Mia or my mum step in. Claire did lots before Matilda, but there's another thing that makes it a lot easier.
Mm.
Family
There
support and
are family
mm,
support, people in my mother's
mm,
group who have family overseas or they've lost their parents.
Mm.
That is a very, very different experience.
mm,
Even the knowing there is someone to call at any minute
mm.
is such a relief. So we have lots of, and it's first grandchild, so everyone's enthusiastic. Um, we have, yeah, so much help.
Are there any other changes that you would still like to make professionally or personally?
I would definitely like to have more kids, and I have no idea what that looks like for my career and
Mhm.
um, how you get any semblance of like, I don't know, developing those goals and working towards them while also looking after small kids. I think that that's going to be really hard, but rewarding at the same time. Um, so I definitely want that. I want to write more books. And I guess the big change that I'm looking towards is script writing. So have done a little bit of
Mm,
that,
Mm.
looking at more projects. And the great thing about script writing is that it can be done around you and your hours on the couch. So if you can do it after 8 o'clock, then great. Like it's not got
Mm.
urgency of writing news, and also you don't have to be in a podcast studio to do it. There's a bit of time. So I'm excited by that prospect, and also that I'm learning this new medium.
mm.
Is that driven from your experience in the writing room for Strife?
Strife.
Yes. So my sister and I wrote episode 4 of Strife, and we, in the very early stages, sort of put together a pitch doc and a character Bible. And we just Googled how, like, we had no idea. We didn't study any of this. Right next to me as we're talking, I have the scripts for Succession.
Oh,
I got them
wow.
for Christmas.
Oh my
Wow.
god.
And so we just sat and read scripts. Like we
Mm,
read Fleabag and
so
Utopia,
funny.
and got a sense of what a script looks like because I had no idea. Uh, and then we did the writer's room, and it was just a masterclass in how to do it. And then there's a few sort of projects. We really want to write comedy. So
Mm.
we're putting together something, but I don't know, you in this situation, especially with screenwriting, it's like 2% ever gets made, but
Mm,
it's fun to just throw stuff at a wall and see what happens.
yeah. You guys are very funny. So, I mean, why not? Why not?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Can't wait to see where that takes you.
Yeah. And then just generally, we're just throwing a question in here about International Women's Day. It's
Yep.
coming up. Are there sort of any broad sweeping changes you would like to see for women in general in the next kind of 12 months on?
Like if Jessie could change the world for
Yeah,
all
yeah,
women,
yeah.
right?
Wishes, wish list.
A few things. I'm very passionate because of the last year.
Mm,
I'm looking very closely at all these investigations that have been done into birth trauma.
mm,
Very
Mm.
interested in that, and what can be done to help women have a better, more empowering experience,
Mm.
because I think birth trauma also impacts the newborn stages so much. So women's health, I think, is just one of the biggest things that I'm really passionate about and would like
mm,
to see a lot of change happening there. But I also, the way that women speak about each other in the
Mm.
media and more broadly, I think the tone needs to change, because at the moment it's
Mm.
very inflammatory, it's very
Mm.
aggressive. It's like everyone is picking fights and going after each other when all different women are trying to do all different things in their each different ways. And if we could just either say good job or just let them be, like even if
Mm.
mm,
you don't agree with how that woman is expressing herself or her feminism, this infighting thing just isn't happening among men. And I think it's a waste of time, and it's holding women back, and it's making women scared. It's
mm.
making women scared to put things into the world and say what they think and be bold and take risks. So that would be fantastic, I think, if that tone changed.
Mm.
Oh, I agree. I feel like there's a lot of that around just generally on social media and things at the moment.
Yeah.
Mm.
moment in time, isn't it? And, like, I always think, God, we're the women are not the ones starting the wars, right? Why are we
Yeah.
having so much anger for the women in our lives that we just follow or what have you? Where is that? Why is that anger being directed? It feels wrong to me that it's being directed
Yeah.
across to other women. I don't know.
Yeah, it's really not helpful, and I think everyone can be experts at their own thing, and I really respect
Yeah.
activism of all kinds, and I
Mm.
follow lots of different people doing exciting stuff, but, I find that impulse interesting.
I think also it fuels that sentiment that women can be a little bit hysterical in,
Yes. Yeah.
inverted commas. Like, if there's other people thinking, oh, women, they're just hysterical, don't promote them or don't support
Mhm.
them or whatever. And when women fight with each other for no good reason,
Yeah,
right? Like
yeah,
just because maybe she's got a different colored top on that
yeah,
whatever it
yeah,
is,
yeah,
whatever.
Disagreement of opinion or
yeah,
Whatever
something.
it
Yeah.
is, that gives other people, like outside influencers, an opportunity to come in and go, "Oh, look, they're a bit stupid, so they
yeah,
don't deserve that." Whereas if we just, I follow this gorgeous, she's actually an astronaut, but she's an influencer and she's in the
mm,
US, and she put a post up today and she said that, her best friend, they've been best friends for 13 years and they've supported each other through thick and thin. They're both astronauts, they're both in a very male dominated industry, but they cheer each other on. They're there to support each other in the good
mm,
times, but also be there to cry with each other when things go bad. And if you haven't got a best friend like that,
yeah,
find yourself one, she was kind of saying.
yeah,
And I feel like women in general, that's kind of what you're saying, right? We need to
yes,
support each other in the good times
yeah,
and be there to support each other in the crappy times because they come, but not tear each other down in the in between
yeah,
times.
and I think that it's interesting, that example, because there's also this sense that maybe there's not a lot of spots, maybe, in the media, or there's not a lot of spots in, I don't know, writing or some industry. And so where there are only a few women, I think there's a competitiveness that
Mm,
kind of starts as well. And then there's this infighting. It happens among a lot of minorities, I think, because
mm,
there's a scarcity mindset, because we feel as though there's not a lot of an opportunity. So you've kind of got to turn on each other. And yeah, men aren't having to do that. So I
No.
think to kind of go, yeah, great, I love what you're doing, keep on doing it, is, yeah, media's been doing that for a while, but I'm certainly getting very fatigued of it.
It's
mm.
exhausting, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
I think it's a little bit like, when you have more kids, everyone sort of says your heart's only big enough for one. And then all of a sudden you
Mm.
have number two or number three, and your heart just grows and there's more space, there's more
yeah, it's
space
not
for the
finite.
love.
It's not
Yeah,
finite.
But it's the same when we're all like I mean, the three of us, we've all worked together
yeah,
in the same industry, and yet we're supporting each other to do amazing things.
there's not one spot.
We
Yeah,
don't
No.
need to tear each other down because there's not just one spot. The space grows. If we're doing our thing, our niche thing, and we support each other, then the space becomes bigger, you know?
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And I'd love to see more of that, I suppose.
Mm.
And yeah, I just think the other is not doing anyone any
Mm,
No.
favors.
no.
Yeah.
So we ask every guest this question, regardless of their age, and you're only just a brand new mum, so not nearly even close to peri or menopause, but certainly have been immersed in it. Um, what are your feelings around perimenopause or the menopause when you hear the words, the change? What does that mean to you?
I was scared, but then I was thinking about it, because I suppose I've been thinking a lot about hormones, like female
Mm.
hormones, and how
Mm,
they impact your experience of the world lately. I think I'm quite looking forward to
mhm.
a state where I am very even emotionally. I know that people who are in that are probably like, but I'm like, maybe once the perimenopause thing happens and then I'm like postmenopausal, maybe I will be so even because during pregnancy, when I, got quite bad perinatal depression, an obstetrician suggested it was a progesterone can affect your brain, and I've noticed since I've had my period back, I'm like, oh, I didn't realize how much these hormones affect my emotions.
Mm,
And I was
yeah.
like, oh, imagine a world without. I'm looking at my mum like I'm so jealous.
Yeah, because I was going to say, like, how many stable women do you know? Like, yeah, how many
Exactly.
postmenopausal stable women are you influenced by?
So,
But, your
so
mum,
true.
and
Yeah,
she's incredible, and we do love Anne.
she was not so stable for what I look back on, and I go, "Oh, menopause." I just thought
Yeah.
she screamed at me a lot. I was adolescent, so I think that was
Oh,
too
yeah.
definitely. I'm like, how do I time my children so that I'm not going through menopause at the same time that they're getting their period? Because that's
Mm.
why the world is imploding. It shouldn't. Honestly, that many hormones in
No,
the house is not
it's not
not
great. No, no.
right. But yeah, and the other thing that I'm hopeful about is that a lot of work is being done by the Gen Xers who will not go quietly into the night. And they have spoken to their doctors and jumped up and down and said, we need to do better. And I reckon by the time it comes along for me, it is going to be smooth sailing because all the issues will have been dealt with, and they will
You're so welcome, Jessie. You're so welcome.
miracle
Yes,
drug.
us and the quiet, forgotten generation is
Yeah.
Yeah.
laying the groundwork for you. We are honoured, and, you're welcome.
Yeah.
This podcast is gonna be the reason why I have a great menopause. Voices like
Fantastic.
this that are just like, we are gonna talk about this,
Yeah,
transitions in women's lives, and we are not gonna accept it laying down.
that's
I was
right.
actually reading an article on National Geographic, of all places, this
Oh,
morning about menopause, and they think they've worked out what causes hot flushes. Like, they think they've worked out there's
oh,
this part in our hippocampus, and there's these, they're called candies. I don't know. I don't understand. But
right.
they're like these little hormones that go, and when the estrogen goes away, they fire. So that makes them
Oh,
receptive to
wow.
heat.
Gosh.
And so the FDA is now, well, these scientists in the US have located these little hormones called candies, and they are doing testing on some drugs that interact directly with these things to
Great.
specifically deal with the hot flushes. And it's in trials now.
Mm,
So, like, that would be
Wow.
incredible.
mm,
Game
Um,
changer. That
mm.
that is gonna be ready
Yes, for
by
you.
then,
just in
Yeah.
time.
I
Go
reckon.
science.
Go
Yay.
science. Yeah.
Well, that's fabulous. Thank you so much, Jessie, for taking your time to talk to us. We very much appreciate it. For women supporting women, you're just out there doing the good work. Well, what a joy it was to talk to Jessie Stephens. I used to love seeing her around in the office. She's just such a smiley, positive person. Her positivity just sort of shines out of her. And I do appreciate what she said about women supporting women and even just coming on this podcast and taking the time. She's a busy woman to talk to us. I think she practices what she preaches. So, yeah.
I completely agree. And I think when she was saying that about women supporting women, I think it is so important. It is a really big call out that we could all do better. We don't need to tear each other down
No.
just because we have an idea or we want to do something. And
Mm.
I loved her insight into writing a book. I
Mm.
know it's something that both of us have a dream and an aspiration to do one day. And when she sort of said that we've already written a book,
Yeah, that was cool.
it
Yeah.
was kind of like, oh, I never really thought of it like that. But
Mm.
she's right, we have.
Mm. Yeah,
We just haven't done it in one go.
that's
So
it.
yeah, so that, lots of little takeaways, and I was so pleased to see her full of joy and really radiating, she's just full of happiness and in that really new mum bubble. Even though
Yeah.
Luna's 7 months old, she's still really in that,
Oh, it's early days, isn't
bubble.
it?
Yeah.
At the time, it always feels, I remember feeling like when you have a 7-month-old baby, you're quite an expert, especially because Claire, her sister, just had a baby who's only 6 weeks old. So you feel like you are the expert. And of course, she, 7 months is a big difference to 6 weeks. It's huge. But yeah, when you look back now, you go, oh, wow, it is still such beautiful, early, cuddly baby days,
Oh,
isn't it? Very
it's
different to
just a
where we're
beautiful
both
time.
at.
It's just,
Yeah.
just a beautiful bubble to be in. So,
Yeah, especially if
yeah.
you are not suffering with, any postnatal depression or, sleep deprivation, which seems like
Mm.
Jessie's doing really well, which is fabulous. And we're very pleased. Well, I'm very pleased that that is the case for her because my
Yeah.
goodness, it's not fun if you do.
And I thought it was great that she was really honest
Yeah.
around, that she has significant help around her
Yes.
and that, that was really good for her to be able to have help on tap, that she knows that she's in a very fortunate position, that she can just reach out when she needs it to
And
significant people
quality
in her
help.
life.
Yeah, that sort of family support is just golden. And yeah, obviously it's gold class, isn't it? If you can get that when your baby's only young,
Absolutely.
it's very much more reassuring to be able to return to work than if you have to drop them off in a big daycare center full of germs, etc. So
Yeah.
not that there's anything wrong with that because I did that and we survived in our own way, as you all do when babies are
Yes.
little.
And
You've
not
just got
all
to
daycare centres, just putting it out there, not all daycare centres are full of germs.
No, we were very happy with our daycare centre. I just need to clarify that. And we had a very positive experience of daycare and family daycare. But yeah, it does feel like a very long time ago now. But it's lovely to be reminded of the change from going from not being a mum to being a mum. And you can, hear sort of Jessie talking about how there is that understanding, isn't there? Once you've crossed over, you're like, oh yeah, it's really hard. It's really different. But I'm still the same person. I think everyone has that worry about their identity. And you do change in lots of ways, but at the core, you're still the same person. I think that's
Yeah.
something that we all fear and then all realize. And yeah, if you weren't a good cook before, you aren't suddenly going to become one when you've had a baby. I certainly learned that and thought, oh dear, my poor children.
I actually
Lucky for them, I
became a
have tools.
bad cook for a little while, but we won't worry too much about that.
It was lovely to talk to Jessie, and yeah, I'm excited to see what she does next in terms of screenplay
Absolutely.
and more writing. Yeah,
More writing.
and
Exciting.
more babies. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for listening to The Change, a fully independent podcast. Whether you're seeking inspiration, curious about change, or just here for the great banter, we'd love you to make The Change your new go-to podcast.
And even better, send us your voice notes or questions about change. We'll use them on the show. Email us at changepod2023@gmail.com or DM us on Instagram at _change_pod. Find us wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram for more on The Change.